Welcome to the Data Collection and Use webinar. This session is about understanding what performance measurement data is, why it's important, how to collect it, and use it. By the end of this training, you will better understand what performance measurement data is, how to identify appropriate tools for collecting data, and how to use your data to make more informed decisions about your program services. Section 1, Performance Measurement: what it is and why it's important for a successful service program. Performance measurement is the process of collecting information about your program performance, whether or not you've met your targets on outputs and outcomes. The information you obtain about your program is often through observation and experience. Through observation and experience, you can draw conclusions about how your program is performing, that is, whether you're achieving your objectives. However, just observing and experiencing your programs is not enough to clearly understand the progress you're making. Inevitably, you must verify observation and experience through data collection and documentation, using tools such as attendance logs, tests, and surveys. This is why it's critically important to systematically collect observations and experiences and document them using surveys, interviews, tests, and other data collection tools that document what has happened in your program. To assess progress, there are two key types of performance measurement metrics that you will collect: outputs and outcomes. Output measures the quality of the services you've provided. How many people did you reach, train, tutor, refer, etc.? An outcome is the type of measure that indicates progress towards achieving the intended results of the program, which usually represents a change in the situation of the beneficiaries of service, such as educational achievement or transitioning into housing. In other words, outcomes reflect the changes or benefits that occur. Outcomes answer the question, what difference did our service make for the beneficiaries? Or how did the new system or product enhance the capacity of the organization to serve the community? To understand how your program is working, it is important to assess your progress towards both your output and outcome objectives. WSC refers to the tools you use to measure progress towards your output and outcome objectives as performance measures. Assessing outputs means you're tracking the actual number of people you've served and the services you provided, such as the number of children you tutored, or perhaps the number of acres of lands you treated. Assessing outcomes means analyzing and measuring the change that has occurred between the time right before you started your services and the time you ended your services. Did participants improve their reading comprehension? Did they indicate their intent to recycle? Part of assessing outcomes is determining how to best track the change to those who are counted in the output. The data and information you collect through assessment will become part of your performance measure reporting for WSC and can also help you make decisions about future program directions. If you didn't serve as many people as you thought you would, why is that so? What challenges or barriers did you face, and what could you do differently next time? If your program didn't lead to the level of change you thought it would, why is that? We will discuss ways to use the data you've collected to answer these questions in depth more later. Section 2, Appropriate Tools for Collecting Data. When measuring your outputs and outcomes, there are various instruments or programs that we can select from. Typically, for outputs, your program will track the unduplicated number of people served, products created, or programs developed, and thus tracking sheets or logs are commonly utilized. Your outcome metrics measure the changes that occurred after you provided your services. Outcome changes are typically measured in 4 different areas. Knowledge. Did participants learn new concepts? If so, how much more knowledge or skill do they have now? Attitudes. Did participants change how they felt about something or what they believed to be as true? Behavior. Did participants do something differently after the program as compared to before? Conditions. Did something in the participants' environment change as a result of the program? Let's look at a few examples of outcome metrics. This slide depicts the performance measurement outcome metrics to measure progress for a service designed to enhance reading and reading comprehension. As you can see, you would collect different data for each of the 4 areas, so you will need different tools. To measure knowledge, a pre-post test measuring the reading comprehension would be good. Attitudes. A pre-post survey would be appropriate to measure attitudes towards reading. Behaviors. Would require a measure of time spent reading, such as a survey of how much time is spent reading. Conditions. This could be a measure of the books in the home, or could be a survey of how many books are in the home. Whether you select an existing tool or develop a tool of your own, there are some key considerations for reviewing and designing a tool. Make sure the tool is suitable for the type of change to be assessed. meaning if your program wants to measure changes in physical activity among program beneficiaries, a program satisfaction survey is probably not appropriate. This also includes making sure the set of questions covers relevant aspects of your outcome. For example, if your mentoring program seeks to change how students feel about school, doing homework, and interacting with teachers, then the instrument should include questions addressing each. From Washington Service Corps' perspective, pre-post measurement is preferable. Instruments should use clear and simple language that does not bias the response. For example, the leading question, has the mentoring program improved how you feel about going to school? This question introduces a subtle positive bias by framing the question in terms of improvement. Instruments are not always a one-size-fits-all. Make sure they're appropriate for the age, education, and language of the respondent. This includes not using insider terminology or acronyms. Instruments should produce data that can be easily compiled and aggregated for reporting. Some Washington Service Corps measures have required instruments. Beyond some of the considerations addressed earlier, there are some additional benefits and limitations when it comes to using an existing instrument or creating a new one. With new instruments, you have the option of tailoring the tool to your program. However, creating a high-quality tool from scratch can be time-consuming and expensive. Depending on one's financial resources, this option may not be possible. Existing instruments save you time from having to reinvent the wheel and going through the trial and error of creating a valid and reliable tool. There are lots of high-quality evidence-based instruments out there that you can use. Creating or identifying valid and reliable instruments are essential. Not only do you get strong data, but in many cases you can use the tool you created later on when conducting an evaluation. Section 3. Using data to make informed decisions about program services. Once you've collected all of your data, the final key element is data assessment. Data assessment allows your project to assess the quality of its program and the effects of its intervention. The assessment can be used to show whether or not a program is on target to reach its goals. And not only can you aggregate your data for reporting outputs and outcomes, but you can also break it down to see if there are interventions that work better in one setting or for one population than in others. All results should be used to inform the program's continuous improvement. This slide shows a relatively brief, high-level summary of what a program might do for data analysis. The program will also want to analyze the success of its data collection strategies themselves. Was the data collected complete? Was the beneficiary response rate reasonable? Did the collected data make its way to the right people for aggregation and analysis? Is there any suspected bias in the responses? For example, post-survey results collected by one AmeriCorps member that are substantially more positive than results collected by other members. You can also use the results of that analysis to help build evidence base for the program. It is also never too early for a program to start thinking about how they might build the evidence base for their program model. Effective data collection and analysis is a huge part of developing a strong evidence base for its program. Using performance measurement data to inform decision-making about how to improve your program is the final step in the data collection process. This is key to getting the benefits of collecting high-quality data. What will you do with the information you've collected? To use data to inform decision-making, you first must interpret your results. Think about how you will determine the significance or meaning of the results and/or reasons that improvements did not occur. Who will interpret the results? Will you need to get help? Who will make decisions about what to do next? When will decisions be made? You will make different decisions about your program depending on how your results turned out. If you got the output and outcome results you expected or better, that's great news. What will you do? Some possibilities are to keep doing the same thing for the same number of people. Expand the number of people you serve and serve additional target populations. Begin providing the service at other sites. If you don't get the output results you expected, it's really important to think about what is next. This means you did not serve the number of participants you intended to serve in the ways you intended to serve them. What will you do? Some possibilities are increase outreach and recruitment, but you must think, if so, how? You could partner with an organization serving the same population you serve, or you could serve a different target population. Also, think, if so, which one and why? The purpose of collecting performance measurement data is to determine whether your programs have achieved what you intended them to in terms of both your output and outcome objectives. For output objectives, your service questions would be, did we serve who we projected we'd serve? Did we provide all the services we said we would provide? If we were going to provide tutoring in math and reading, is that what we did? If we were going to plant trees and clear old brush away, is that what we did? Did we provide services on time and in the way that we planned to? If we were going to provide tutoring twice a week for an hour each time for a full 6 months, is that what we actually did? Did we achieve our minimum dosage requirements? Did we use data to improve the program? Ultimately, our goal is to create a culture of learning. If you didn't get the outcome results you expected or better, this means that you didn't get the change you'd hoped for. What will you do? Some possibilities are: look for a different way to provide services, such as a different curriculum, more culturally or age-appropriate instructional strategies, all evidence-based, of course. You could find a new, different, evidence-based model program to replicate, or you could end the program. Track and reporting data is a AmeriCorps requirement. A culture of learning and continuous process improvement is a higher level stage. The key point is that data collection and analysis provide valuable opportunities to assess what is going well and what can be improved. The most fundamental goal of data collection is to help you improve your program. What you want to do: reflect on the data with stakeholders and staff at all levels. Actively use the data to ask questions, seek answers, and identify and solve problems. Use the data to inform adjustments to program activities. As you collect and analyze data, reassess program goals and objectives. Use the data for long-term planning and decision-making. In review, we have covered what performance measurement is. Performance measurement is the process of collecting information, such as data, about program performance. We've also covered appropriate tools for collecting data. Make sure that the tool is suitable for the type of change to be assessed, whether in knowledge, attitude, behaviors, or conditions. We've also covered how to use it to make informed decisions about your program services. Remember to reflect on the data with stakeholders and staff at all levels. Actively use the data to ask questions, seek answers, and identify and solve problems. Use the data to inform adjustments to program activities. Be sure, as you collect and analyze the data, to reassess the program goals and objectives. Finally, use the data for long-term planning and decision-making. Questions for reflection. Have you ever changed your data collection instrument or protocol? If so, what prompted you to do so? How does your organization use the assessed data? Is there a shared agreement among staff on how data can be used for program improvement? Does your organization provide opportunities for and fosters a culture of information sharing, discussion, reflection, learning, and improvement in order to support informed decision-making and practice? Can you think of an example of how you've used data you collected to change or improve your program? Thanks for watching this session. We ask that each of you complete a short survey to provide feedback on this session. Please use the following link to complete the survey. Your answers are confidential to the program research staff.